Star Wars 7x7 episode 2377. Today, we got a lot more information about the scope and scale of the High Republic Storytelling Mega event, as they're calling it, and we're going to share all the pertinent details here. Punch it! Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy. And thank you so much for joining me for it. So, I'm going to make a little bit of a presumption here that has to do with the mega storytelling event known as the High Republic coming from Lucasfilm. It is launching today, and there was a launch event that happened as a live stream video on YouTube on Monday where they revealed that this is actually happening in 3 phases, and all the stories that we've heard about, along with a bunch that were just announced today for the first time, are part of phase 1 of a 3-phase storytelling mega event. So the first phase is going to be called Light of the Jedi, coincidentally also kicking off with a novel by the same name. The second phase of the project is going to be called Quest of the Jedi, and the final third phase, or at least, what seems to be the third phase at this point, or maybe just the last one they're announcing so far, is going to be called Trials of the Jedi. And considering what we talked about on yesterday's episode about the timelines and about the fact that we're actually starting about 232 years before the Battle of Yavin, and the end of this High Republic era is supposed to be around 82 BBY. That's 150 years, and we have 3 phases of this storytelling event being announced. So, of course, the brain kind of thinks, oh, well, maybe it's going to be 50 galactic years for each of these 3 phases. I don't know that for sure, but it seems like the math works. And as far as the real-world timeline goes, Michael Siglain, who is the creative director for Lucasfilm Publishing, said that the first phase will go into 2022. He did not say how far into 2022 it would go, but there were a number of new books and graphic novels and manga that were announced in the big launch event today. So the storytelling that we know about, of course, has to do with the 3 books and the 2 comic series that are part of the kickoff of this phase 1. There are also going to be short stories in Star Wars Insider magazine, and apparently the new fiction that Star Wars Insider is publishing is going to be all focused on the High Republic. At least that's the way they talked about it on this live event. So issue 199 of Insider is going to feature part 1 of a story called Go Together, which is written by Charles Soule, who is the guy who wrote Light of the Jedi, the kickoff adult novel. And he says that part 1 reads as sort of a chapter 0 for Light of the Jedi, and then there's going to be a part 2 that comes out that will be essentially an after the epilogue, like a postscript, if you will. And from that point on, Star Wars Insider is going to continue to publish with every issue a new story. I've seen it referred to as Starlight Stories and Stories of Starlight, so I'm not sure which one they're going to go with, but Cavan Scott and Justina Ireland are going to trade off stories, and Cavan Scott's going to get the first one after Charles Soule's 2. His is called First Duty, and it's going to deal with that big Starlight Beacon station and people who are not Jedi who are working on the station and getting into their world. We also found out that the great disaster that they talk about as the main inciting event for this whole High Republic storytelling saga, that's not the only disaster that's going to happen, and there is an event that's similar to the World's Fair, that was how it was described on the launch event, that's going to be the focus of the next adult novel, which is Cavan Scott's The Rising Storm, and one imagines that there's going to be another kind of disaster that has to do with that particular World's Fair-like event, but they were very mum about the details, as you might expect. We also found out that Claudia Gray is working on quote-unquote something, but it's so secret that she's not allowed to announce it yet. Every other writer in this High Republic group has been announced as having something coming further down the pike, but Claudia Gray had been the only one, and it turns out that yes, she is involved in a next something. They're just not ready to tell us yet what it is. We also found out that Cavan Scott is going to be including a character named Ty Yorick in The Rising Storm, who is described as a saber for hire and a monster hunter, and is also going to be featured In another piece of High Republic storytelling and another move to a different form of media, a graphic novel that's called The Monster of Temple Peak. And that's not the only character that's going to cross into different media. Justina Ireland, who is writing the middle grade novel A Test of Courage that's going to kick off the High Republic, she is doing the next YA novel, which is going to be called, Out of the Shadows, which is supposed to be a play, she says, on Claudia Gray's YA title, Into the Dark. And her main character from A Test of Courage, Vernesta Rowe, is also going to be in this novel, and other characters from A Test of Courage are going to make it into this one as well. So this seems to be a thing where they're going to start to cross-pollinate with different storytelling levels, if you will, between adult novels and YA novels and middle grade novels, and jumping from comics to books and back and forth. And speaking of middle grade novels, Daniel Jose Older, who is writing the younger audience Star Wars High Republic Adventures comic, is also going to be doing the next middle grade novel, which is going to be called Race to Crash Point Tower, and characters from his High Republic series are going to make it into that middle grade novel as well. And continuing Lucasfilm's explorations into manga, I'm saying manga, that's how Justina Ireland pronounced it, so my apologies for saying manga earlier. I'm actually not 100% positive of the pronunciation, so my apologies for that as well. There's going to be a story that is a manga called The Edge of Balance, and it's being scripted by Justina Ireland and Shima Sinya. So that will be another bit of storytelling happening in this High Republic era. And all of the stories that I've talked about are stories that comprise the first phase of this High Republic storytelling era. The one thing I think we don't necessarily know for sure is how far the stories that are being told in Star Wars Insider get as far as when Phase 1 ends for those and when Phase 2 begins. But certainly every short story coming out in Insider for this year and the first couple of issues of, say, next year, probably Phase 1. And there is one other resource that I'm going to share with you related to this High Republic launch video event that they had on Monday. Before I do that, though, I just want to give a quick shout out to Christina O'Reilly, who just became a patron of Star Wars 7x7, and I had the pleasure of meeting Christina at Celebration Chicago, which was really fun, and we've traded tweets and Facebook messages and comments here and there. And so what a wonderful honor it is, Christina, for you to become a patron of the show. Thank you so very much, and I look forward to more fun conversations with you. And if you are listening to this and are still considering the idea of helping support me in delivering this daily dose of Star Wars joy to the world, then I hope you will check out patreon.com/SW7x7. Again, that's patreon.com/SW7x7. So if you do not have the hour-ish to spare to check out the video of the launch event, then check out StarWars.com, and I'll post the link in the blog post for the show's episode at SW7x7.com. And you can get a recap of some highlights from that event, which includes some of the things that I've talked about here and some other things that we'll actually be exploring in depth in later episodes of the podcast. So do check that out. And also, the folks at Del Rey let me know that there is a special edition being put out of Light of the Jedi that's signed by Charles Soule. It's from Out of Print, which is a funny name for kind of company, but that's what it is. And in addition to this special edition that's going on sale at 11 Eastern today, they're also including a pair of High Republic socks and a special High Republic pin. So if you want to check that out, I guess there's a waiting line situation potentially for that as well. So if you are game for that sort of thing, then fingers crossed. I hope you're one of the folks to get it. And I'll post a link for that in the show notes for this episode as well. So that right there is going to do it for today. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for this episode, as always. And may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
Star Wars 7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2020 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.